Really good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for making time and congratulations on season three. I'm not all through it yet, but what I've seen so far is really great. So congratulations to you both. I guess a good place to start would be one of the main things that hit me with the show is a lot of the characters I feel are striving for independence, as particularly with this season. But I wanted to get your guys' take. Do you feel like that type of independence that a lot of these characters are looking for is it simply an illusion in 1964 America, particularly for the black characters and the female characters in the independence that they're striving for?
Well, Ismail, that's a great question.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right that each one of the different characters represented in this season and in seasons past are seeking independence, authority over their actions without opposition. And I think that what we see in this season is that becomes almost an impossibility for Bumpy, it's an interesting notion, independence through strategic alliance, and we see in this season. I'm not sure how many episodes you've watched, but that is a very difficult objective. These alliances.
I also think is when you're thinking about independence or freedom, particularly for African Americans and particularly at this time, a lot of it just has to do with self-reliance, right?
Right.
Being, you know, to educate, to feed, to take care of your own people at this moment in time is still just a reality that hasn't been achievable for a lot of black folk, right? So,
Right.
in many ways, these alliances that Chris is talking about, the friendships, the partnerships, have to do with kind of getting to the place where we recognize to actually be self-reliant, to actually be on your own per se, you have to also be in partnership with other people. You have to be in community with other people who are around you. So, it's an interesting notion to actually look at it in many ways. The Godfather of Harlem is about exploring freedom and what it really means in independence. What it really means to be truly free as a black man and woman in America in the 1960s. If that's at its essence, that's what it's all about.
This is true. This is true. One thing I also enjoy is the fact that we have a lot of course, historical characters. So you play on a little bit, I think, of the audience's expectations if they're familiar with these characters. For example, with Sam Christian from the Philadelphia Black Mafia last season, those who know his real story know that I think he passed away in the last 5 or 10 years. But then the show, he doesn't make it. So I think that was like a good little trick for people who may have expected him to stick around. Now in this season, we have even more characters like Jose Battle. We have Joe Colombo on the scene now, and then of course Malcolm's Pilgrimage to Mecca. What is kind of that sweet spot for both of you, where you're staying true to the historical reality, but also kind of playing with the narrative a little bit, just so audiences are staying on their toes?
Well, first of all, I'm very impressed that you brought up Sam Christian. I must
Right.
say. And I actually think that was a strategic mistake on our part because at first we were sort of enamored of this idea of this Sam Christian character, and then we end up kind of offing him, which does not square with reality. And I sort of wish that that you caught that, but I sort of wish he had stuck to the in fact just made him a fictional character who got off as opposed to making an error when compared by reality. But Ismail, what I think the most important thing you're saying is that we're forced to create a universe that is based on historical figures and that we work very hard to try to keep aligned with the spirit of their true actions and demeanor. So, for instance, Malcolm's kind of an easier character to create for our show because he wrote an autobiography of 1,200 pages. In other words, we have lots of his own words to use to help form our iteration of his character. Bumpy, much less so. And Paul's grandmother was sent to secretarial school by Bumpy Johnson, so I've been hearing about Bumpy from Paul for over 35 years. So, but there's very little written or recorded about what he said. So we're forced to take the spirit of the man as we imagine him and try to put him through this arc of personal growth. Really, we see him gaining a consciousness about some of the actions that he perpetrates in the community that aren't good for the community. You'll see that more in this season than any other previous. So I think the short answer to your question is we're forced to, we have a responsibility to drama more so than documentary reality. And hopefully we walk that line carefully enough that we don't offend folks and that we entertain them.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just add to this that, I mean, both Chris and I are real history fanatics. I believe Chris has a degree in history, and, you know, it's something that we just do naturally all the time. So we know we're not doing a factual representation of exactly what went down, but nothing makes me more happy, and I think nothing really pleases me as a somebody who's a creator is when the audience gets juiced by what they've seen and they go look at themselves, right? Right. What I hope is that everybody watches our show and goes to find out who these people really were, whether it's Sam Christensen or Adam Clayton Powell. You know, are they really like going, oh wow, I didn't even know who this guy was, and then suddenly the whole world of history opens up to them and they realize that, you know, what we're dealing with now is not the first time that we've dealt with any of the issues that we go through, and that you know, a look into history is something that can be more than just a boring old book that you do for class, right?
Absolutely.
It's living, it's breathing, and you know, we you know, I like to think that we're the enablers of that. We're the ones who say, hey man, you got to go learn your history because there was some stuff going down you need to know about. And when that happens, we win.
Very true, very true. And I think it's a great starting point for season 3 to be dealing with 1964, a very big year in America. You know, it was a transformative year just in Harlem with the riots. We also have Malcolm's trip to Mecca, and even on, you know, because I do cover boxing, we have Ali. He won his first title against Sonny Liston in 1964. So I'm 3 episodes in. I was wondering if there is going to be any more Ali that we're going to see this season.
I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed to say that I don't think we will see Ali the rest of the season, which is painful to say to a boxing journalist. But we felt we had done a pretty nice job with this wonderful actor Derek Augustin, capturing a version of Muhammad Ali, and while. To be honest, to do with Ali would have forced us into exploring his schism with Malcolm, which he regretted later on in his life. But we weren't able to find a way to work that in to the drama of this season, which is unfortunate because we love the actor who played Muhammad for us.
Got it. And speaking of Malcolm, also with having to recast, that's always such a big decision. A lot of, I think, shows that just say, let's kill the character off. That's just simpler. But you guys made a bold move to go with Jason Allen Carville. I think he's done a wonderful job. I think people will really get to him once they see the episodes going. What drew you to him to know that he would be exactly what you needed from Malcolm after having such a wonderful performance from Nigel Thatch?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, first of all, between a combination of business negotiations, COVID delays, et cetera, pushed our schedule in a manner that made it impossible for Nigel to work with us because he was pursuing other things. And so we were forced into a situation that nobody wants to be forced into, which is you're taking an actor in Nigel who so brilliantly filled those shoes and having to replace him with some poor other guy who's now got to fill those shoes. And we got very, very lucky because we auditioned lots of people. We were very, very nervous. And, at the end of the day, we saw Jason's performance. And really, for me, it was Forrest Whitaker calling us and saying, you know what? I'm telling you, I think this is the guy. And we obviously liked his audition a lot, but when Forrest weighs in, it carries, it not even carries weight as the fact that he's a fellow executive producer with us. It's more just, Forrest Whitaker is telling you this guy has chops. You may want to listen. And and I think that Jason gives his version of Malcolm, which is, I'm so happy you said this, Ismail, which is that, like, a few episodes in, you're sort of, oh, okay, you're accepting this new Malcolm, and I think he has a warmth and a gravitas that's very powerful, and so we're just lucky to have gotten someone who we feel is a capable, an excellent replacement for a brilliant actor who we weren't able to get because of time considerations.
Got it. Now, one thing you mentioned me not knowing Sam Christian, so let me make a little confession. I'm actually working on a nonfiction book about Murder Inc. So when I'm in New York, I live in Atlanta. I do a lot of research at the municipal archives. So when I was doing that for that period, 1930s and 20s, I came across a never before seen picture of Stephanie St. Clair, a mugshot that I'll be publishing probably this month. And the reason why that stuck in my mind is because she is referenced in one of the earlier episodes, and it made me think, would you guys be considering possibly entering her into the series, being that, you worked with her story before with Hoodlum, and she's also still alive in this timeline. I just wonder if that was something that you guys are considering at any point.
You're so on point. You're so on point. Well, first of all, we've talked about that a lot, but our corporate overlords at MGM are very interested in us trying to develop Hoodlum as a series with Stephanie St. Clair as the star.
Wow.
So that's in point of fact what we're trying to do right now, which is we're fiddling with how we tell the Stephanie St. Clair story set in the 30s. And, I mean, obviously, if we put her in Godfather of Harlem, she would, and I think she was alive until the mid to late 60s, but she would be a very, very old woman.
Right.
So, a couple of thoughts about it. Yeah, so we're pondering it for Godfather of Harlem, but we're actively trying to figure out if we can do a Hoodlum series.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, one other underrated thing about Godfather of Harlem, I think a lot of people might...
I only have time for one more question.
One more? Okay. No problem. So my last question would be, I think some of the rants that some of the characters go on are always fantastic. The one that sticks with me is Chin's rant. I call it the me above you speech that he gave Bumpy. I wonder if there's anyone this season that might be going on a rant like that. If I had to guess, I might think it's Joe Colombo, but I'm just wondering if anyone else is going to kind of go off like that.
I'm going to tell you two quick funny stories. Yes, I hope you'll find a rant or two that you love. Yes, from Joe Colombo, maybe from Jose Battle, and who knows, maybe even from Chin if he gets out of jail at some point. Spoiler alert. In any case, the other thing to tell you was when we did that scene, there was scripted dialogue, and then Vince D'Onofrio came in, and he grabbed that scripted dialogue and he made it his own, as he always does. And then the me above you was something that he did extemporaneously. In other words, he added that on, and we thought it was so powerful.
So you owe him whatever he was going to front you for your numbers crisis. And a shitload of fucking kilos of dope. That's me above you!
And Forrest called me afterwards and said, I felt really weird that he was saying all that stuff, and I never even responded to him. And so we said to Forrest, hey, he beat you, man. You've just beaten him in 4 episodes. This is episode 5. Like, guess what? He shut you down, and you don't have nothing to say. There's no reason to open your mouth.
I would keep that hearty spirit under control, Johnson. Because that's me above you.
And we said, well, if you like it, though, what we can do is have you go back in your office and express your anger, back in your office alone. So he sort of doesn't love that as an option, but he kind of reluctantly agrees. He kind of trusts us, and he says, okay, I'll do it. But I can tell he really wants us to shoot him yelling back at Chin, just some tight shots.
You're not above me.
So we said, no, we think that's wrong. So anyway, the final shot of that episode 105 is him going into the office and destroying his table with a baseball bat. And if you take a look at the end of 105, you'll see that. And you're going to think it's because he's so angry about what Chin did. But in fact, he destroyed the table, so we couldn't do another take.
Wow, amazing.
You know? And by the way, he's the nicest man in the world and zero problems. So I don't need to make any. And it's just he went in and he expressed all his anger on that table.
Sweeping the table.
Yeah, and he ended up making it a one-take possibility because he destroyed the. We weren't expecting him to destroy the table, but he did. But it worked out well for the show. But,
Absolutely. Fantastic story. Chris, Paul, I thank you so much for your time, and I'm definitely going to be front and center to watch it again with everybody else this Sunday on January the 15th. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, and we look forward to your book on Murder Inc. Maybe you could turn it into a TV show.
That would be perfect. You'll be the first guys I call. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you.
All right, have a good one. You too, Cole. Thanks. Bye-bye.